Hi, welcome to another episode of the AI Unpacked. Today, I want to start with a question. If your company's internal data, your medical records, HR records, personal records, education degrees, everything was found on open internet, which was indexed by Google and anybody could have a look at it. What would you do? That is exactly what happened this week. This week, a cybersecurity firm found 380,000 applications built with AI coding tools sitting publicly on the web. About 5,000 of them contained sensitive corporate data, hospital patient conversations, a Brazilian bank's internal financials, active clinic trials from a UK health company, all indexed, all accessible, all built by employees who had no idea they had made all of that public. Now that's story one. The second story is Google confirmed that it stopped the first documented case of a criminal group using AI to autonomously build a working zero-day exploit for a planned mass cyber attack. The same week, OpenAI launched a specialized AI model specifically designed to defend against exactly this kind of attack. The arms race is no longer theoretical. The third story. A new IBM survey of over 2,000 organizations found that 76% now have a chief AI officer. Last year, that number was 26%, a 50-point jump in 12 months. The chief AI officer is now the fastest growing C-suite in corporate history. And 93% of those organizations say culture, not technology, is what is actually blocking their AI adoption. This is exactly when cloud came and the local data centers were at risk. So, three stories all happened this week, all connected. Let's get into it. So, the first story, Vibe Coding Beach. Now, imagine you're an HR manager and you've been told by your director to build an internal tool to track team performance data. Now, you've heard about vibe coding. These AI tools let you describe what you want in plain English, and then AI builds these apps for you. So, you spend your afternoon describing this tool, AI builds it, you click deploy, and it's done. You're proud of yourself, and the tool works. What you don't know, what nobody told you, and nobody warned you about is that when you click deploy, the app became publicly accessible on the internet, indexed by Google. Anybody searching the right terms could find it and see everything that is inside it. That is not a niche scenario. That is what happened at scale. So, Red Access is a cybersecurity firm in Israel. It found that it spent several weeks scanning the web for what they call shadow AI tools employees are using without IT department's approval. What they found was extraordinary. 380,000 publicly accessible applications and assets built with AI coding tools from Lovable, Base 44, Replit, and Netlify. About 5,000 of those contain sensitive corporate data. And crucially, most of these organizations involved had no idea. Axios independently verified multiple exposed apps, so did Wired, and this was not a theoretical finding. As per the CEO, I don't think it's feasible to educate the whole world about security. My mother is vibe coding with Lovable, and I don't think she will think about role based access. That line is the entire story in one sentence. The tool is so easy that even your mother can use it. And the very ease is what makes it so powerful, and the same thing makes it so dangerous. So, what was actually exposed? Let me give you specifics because the specifics matter here. A shipping company app that detailed which vessels were expected at which ports, an internal health company application listing active clinical trials across UK, full unredacted customer service conversations for a British cabinet supplier, including customer names and contact details, internal financial information for a bank in Brazil, a hospital app containing summaries of conversations between doctor, patients, including patient complaints. All of that sitting on open web, all built by employees with no formal security training using tools that defaulted to public. Now, why it keeps happening? The platforms have a technically correct defense. Replit CEO posted on X that public apps being public is expected behavior. Users can set these apps to private with a single click, and that's true. But it misses the point completely. The concept of people creating something that simply and using it in production on behalf of their company without getting any permission, there is no limit. That's again the CEO of Red Access. Now, here is the structural data. Between 40 and 62% of AI generated code contains security vulnerabilities. Depending on which study you read, AI written code produces flaws at 2.74 times the rate of human written code. And in first quarter of 2026, assessment of more than 200 vibe coded applications, 91.5% contained at least one vulnerability directly traceable to an AI hallucination. By the end of this year, Gartner forecast that 60% of all new code will be AI generated. The security gap is not closing, it is widening. So, what to do right now? There are three actions, and you can do it under 15 minutes. Go to Google right now and search site colon lovable app, your company name. If anything comes up that should be private, contact the platform immediately and make the app private or take it down. Number two, ask your IT team to scan for assets deployed via Lovable App, Replit App, Base44, and Netify domains. Establish whether any of those assets are publicly accessible. And number three, if you're a chief information security officer, add vibe coding domains to your DLP rules before you go for your next board meeting. I have my take summarized in 4 points. First, this is not a platform problem, it's an architecture problem. Replit and Lovable are not lying when they say public apps being public is expected behavior, but they are building tools for people who don't understand what public means at infrastructure level. The CISO who treats this as an architectural problem will deploy discovery scanning across vibe coding domains. Number two, shadow AI is now board level risk. It's not an IT footnote. 73.8% of ChatGPT workplace accounts in enterprise environments are unauthorized. That's from Cyberhaven data. The Red Access team found these exposed apps while investigating shadow AI usage for clients. And number three, the democratization of building is not the same as the democratization of security. Vibe coding is generally powerful. The ability to describe an app and have it exist in 3 minutes is a real and significant productive leap. And number four, running a vibe coding audit this week before the next board meeting, before next all hands, before the next product review. Find out what your employees have built and put on the internet using these tools. It is a 1 day exercise. It has found actual patient records, financial data, and customer information of real companies. It might find something significant that is in yours. Let's move on to the second story. Now, Google stops the first AI built 0 day attack. 2 weeks ago, I covered Claude Mythos, the model Anthropic built and decided not to release because it was very capable. One of the things I said on that episode was the reason Anthropic is worried is not theoretical. It is practical because these tools are there, they are live, they are built, and they are being used for AI powered cyber attacks. So, so what Google found and stopped? Google's threat intelligence group published a report this week confirming that it disrupted a criminal group and was planning what they described as a mass exploitation event using AI built 0 day exploit. This is first publicly documented case of criminals using AI to autonomously build a working 0 day exploit, not to assist human hackers, but to do the exploit finding work itself. The attack was not a simple brute force scan. The attackers used AI to analyze code behavior and identify an authentication bypass path. The AI found a flaw that human attackers looking for known signature would have likely missed entirely. Google's GTIG stopped it before the mass exploitation began. Now, Google Threat Intelligence Group says that AI is dramatically accelerating the speed at which threat actors can find and exploit vulnerabilities. What used to take months now takes hours. Now, what was behind it? Google's report explicitly flagged groups linked to China and North Korea as having demonstrated significant interest in capitalizing on AI for vulnerability discovery. The OpenClaw tool and AI-powered cyber attack platform was cited as a key instrument across multiple documented hacks attempted this quarter. This is not a lone criminal or a small ransomware gang. These are national, state linked groups and serious resources applying frontier AI to offensive cyber operations. The Mythos story and this story are the same story, one from a defensive lab perspective and one from a real world criminal perspective, played out simultaneously. Now, the second problem is the speed problem. Here is a number that changes how CISOs need to think about the incident response. At Black Hat Asia last month, security researchers documented the window from bug discovery to working exploit. In 2023, the window was 5 months. Today, with AI Assistant, it is 10 hours. This is not a rounding error. This is a complete collapse of the timeline that every incident response playbook was written around. If your playbook assumes you have days or weeks between discovery and exploitation, your playbook is wrong. Now, OpenAI's defensive response. The same week Google stopped an AI-built offensive attack, OpenAI launched GPT 5.5 Cyber, a specialized cybersecurity tool available to vetted security teams defending critical infrastructure. The symmetry is deliberate and significant. Both sides of this arms race are now fielding a frontier AI. The organizations that equip these security teams with defensive AI first will have a structural advantage. The ones that wait will be the position of fighting AI speed attacks with human speed responses. The OpenAI launch statement was AI-powered cybersecurity defense is no longer optional. It is how you stay in the game when your adversary is already using AI to attack. Now, my take on this story. This validates everything Anthropic worried about my thoughts. 3 weeks ago, I said on this show that the reason Anthropic created Project Glasswing, restricted access, $100 million in credit, 50 organizations, was because they genuinely believed that large scale AI powered cybersecurity attacks were significantly more likely this year. They weren't performing caution for the cameras, they were describing a threat they could already see forming. This week's Google report is the confirmation. Second, the 10-hour window is the number every CISO needs to put in front of their board this month, not the story itself. The number 5 months to 10 hours. Every incident response playbook, every escalation procedure, every communication protocol that was written assuming you would have time to deliberate before exploitation is now based on an assumption that is no longer true. Third point, GPT 5.5 Cyber is the most important launch of this week and it got almost no coverage. OpenAI built a specialized defensive cybersecurity model and launched it the same week Google stopped an AI built offensive cyber attack. The organization that equipped their security teams with defensive AI this year will have a structural advantage against the attack type we just discussed. And number four, India's CERT-in needs to update its playbook for the AI speed threat era, the 10-hour window, the logic flaw bypass, the nation-state linked groups with AI tools. None of this is in the current framework. Okay, so let's move on to the third story. The chief AI officer explosion, 76% increase in 1 year. Now, the first two stories, things were happening, you're ready or not. Story three is about a structural change in organizations who are positioning themselves to respond exactly to those things. The IBM Institute of Business Value surveyed more than 2,000 organizations, the finding is one of the most extraordinary data points in corporate history. So, what was IBM's finding? Now, 76% organizations surveyed now have a chief AI officer. 1 year ago, the same survey number was 26%, 50-point increase in 12 months. The chief digital officer role, CDO, took roughly 8 years to reach 50% adoption after it was established. The CAIO has matched it in one. This is the fastest adoption of any new executive role in IBM survey history. AI is driving what may be the largest organizational shift since the industrial and digital revolution, is a senior partner from McKinsey and Companies, quoting from an IBM report 2026. The cultural barrier nobody is talking about. A separate survey, the Bean 2026 AI and Data Leadership Survey, asked those same C suite leaders what is actually blocking their AI adoption. The answer was not we don't have the right model access. It was not our infrastructure isn't ready. It was not the technology is too immature. 93%, 93.2% cited cultural challenges as a principal barrier. The technology is ready, the organizations are not. That single data point, 93% cultural, 7% technical, reframes how you think about an AI investment. If you're spending 95% of your AI budget on tools and 5% on culture and change management, you have the ratio exactly backwards. So, what the CAIO actually does? This role is not about a CTO who learned about ChatGPT. Let me be precise what a CAIO owns. So, CIO, the strategy is that they define what AI capabilities the organization needs to compete in 3 years and build a roadmap to get there. They evaluate and select AI tools and vendors, including the build versus buy decision for proprietary models, risk and governance. They own the organization's risk framework, model bias, data privacy, regulatory compliance, and the ethical dimensions of AI deployment. The cultural change is they are the translator between both AI aspirations and the organization's actual capability to deliver on them. This is not a technology role. This is a business transformation role centered on one technology. So, this is my take on the CAIO explosion. CIO without authority is just a title. The risk with rapid adoption of any C suite role is what I would call formative compliance. Companies hire someone with the title to satisfy board pressure and investor questions without giving them the actual decision making authority, real budget, or reporting lines that matter. The question is not, do you have a CIO? The right question is, what decisions can your CIO make without approval from three other executives? If the answer is not many, the role is decorative. Second, the 93% cultural finding is the most important data point in the story, and it's getting almost no attention. Every AI coverage piece leads with the 76% headline. Almost nobody is leading with the 93%. The companies that will win in AI era are not the ones with the best model access. They are the ones that have genuinely restructured their decision making, incentives, and culture around AI. Third point, for Indian enterprises, this conversion is late, not early. If 76% of global organizations in a 2000 company IBM survey now have a CIO and the survey is anywhere near representative, the Indian enterprises are choosing between catching up and being left behind. The fourth point is the CHRO signal is the one nobody is talking about. 59% of respondents expect the chief human resource officer's influence to grow in the AI era. This is not a prediction about HR becoming a technology function. It is a prediction that the organizations that get AI adoption right will recognize the people strategy and AI strategy are the same strategy. The CISOs who come to this episode for cybersecurity stories, the vibe coding beats, the zero-day exploit should hear this. The same cultural barrier that's blocking your security training programs is the same cultural barrier that's blocking your AI adoption. They are the same problem, they need the same solution. Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is question and answers. So, 5 questions and real answers. Is my company's data already on the web? How to find out? Okay, so probably not, but you genuinely don't know unless you check. Here's the exact thing you do: open Google, type site colon lovable dot app and bracket your company name. If anything comes up that should be private, you should contact the platform or your IT team immediately. Second, how is an AI built zero-day attack different from a traditional cyber attack? So there are three fundamental differences. The speed. Traditional cyber attack takes weeks to months and AI can do it in hours. We have now documented evidence from Google GTIG report. Scale. AI can analyze millions of lines of code simultaneously rather than targeting specific known weak points. And novelty. AI finds logic flaws and authentication bypass paths that rule-based scanners miss entirely because they don't fit any known signature. Should I push my company to have a CIO? Yes, but the title matters less than authority. Before you advocate for a CIO role, define what decisions that person would own. If the answer is advise on AI tools or coordinate with AI working group, they don't need a C-suite title. If the answer is own AI strategy, procurement, risk, and governance with board level access and real budget, then yes, hire a CIO and do it in 2026, not 27. The 76% figure means that you're still ahead of 24% of the market. Question 4: what is the most urgent action from all three stories combined? So the first story, search for your company name on Lovable Replit right now. Story 2, ask your CISO in one line message today whether your incident response playbook has been updated. The third story, can you name a single person in an organization who is accountable for AI strategy, governance, and risk? If you can't, you have a governance gap, not a technology gap. Number 5, is the vibe coding security risk hype or genuinely dangerous? So it's genuinely dangerous, not too dangerous to use. Axios and Wired independently verified the exposures: 380,000 publicly acceptable assets, 5,000 with sensitive data from a credible Israeli security firm with sound methodology. So now a myth breaking section: hype or real? So the first thing is 380,000 vibe coded apps exposed. Yes, 380,000 vibe coded apps were exposed, 5,000 with sensitive corporate data. Second, AI built zero-day attack stopped by Google. Yes, that's the second story, and yes, it is true. It is across all the news, and it is an official GTIG report independently corroborated by the Washington Post and Washington Times. The CAIO adoption at 76%. Yes, that's real. The fastest C-suite adoption on record. 76% companies now have a CIO officer. That's a survey by IBM in more than 2,000 companies. AI will willfully replace engineers soon. Yes, that's partially real, but it depends on what job role you have. So AI will fully replace the software engineers this year. It's not possible because it has glitches, the code has security issues. You need engineers at the moment. Vibe coding is too dangerous to use if you are making critical applications for your organizations and using PII. If you are putting that information in a public application who can put that information on open web, then yes, it is a big risk, and breaching this data invites severe punishments. Depends on which country you do it. GDPR in Europe has very strict penalties of exposing this data. So summarizing the three stories for this week: AI coding tools are putting sensitive corporate and medical data on the open web, not through hacking, but through employees who don't know that anyone can build is not the same as anyone can secure. The second, Google stopped the first AI built zero-day exploit before it became a mass exploitation event. The same week, OpenAI launched a defensive AI model specifically for critical infrastructure, making the arms race real. And the third story is 76% of companies now have a chief AI officer, which is up from 26% 1 year ago. And 93% say culture, not technology, is what is actually blocking AI adoption. The bottleneck is not the model, it is the organization. If you found this episode useful, share it with a person who is making AI decisions right now and does not have this level of briefing. That's the whole ask. One person in AI who could benefit from this. Subscribe, hit the bell. See you next week on Tutor Tuesday at 7 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday 7 p.m. with 3 new AI stories globally. Stay curious, stay secure, stay sharp. This is Raj signing off. Namaskar.